So our next speaker on this panel today, and we're going to aim to have a discussion afterwards, is Amparo Domingo. So over to you.
The question from WDI's point of view, what would success look like? I have to say that I like this question very much. I think it's very clever. And I think it's very important. It's a very important question for every organization because it forces them to review their goals, set a roadmap of tasks and actions to achieve those goals, and then find a way of measuring their achievements to check whether the milestones accomplished are in line with the actual goals of the organization. Putting it in very simple words, what we're asking ourselves now is first, who are we? And once that is clear, what do we really want to achieve? So let's start by reviewing who we are. That is very easy. It's actually written in our main website at the About section. And I'm reading now from the webpage, womensdeclaration.com. It says, Women's Declaration International, WDI, is a group of volunteer women from across the globe dedicated to protecting women's sex-based rights. Our volunteers include academics, writers, organizers, activists, and health practitioners, and aim to represent the total breadth of the human female experience. The Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights was created by the founders of WDI to build international sisterhood and to urge nations to maintain language protecting women and girls on the basis of sex rather than gender or gender identity. You can read our facts here. And also it says that we are a female-only group and men are invited to support the cause by donating. So far, that's what is written on the website. And all the work is done already. Everything is explained, so we might end this panel here. So in those two paragraphs, we not only described ourselves, what we also did state our goals very clearly. We said that WDDR is dedicated to protecting women's sex-based rights, which is the reason why, accordingly, we have a document called Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights that was created. And according to our own description, we have two goals. One is to build international sisterhood. Second, to urge nations to maintain language protecting women and girls on the basis of sex rather than gender or gender identity. So from this very own point of view, which is different from other feminist organizations that could be working in other very important areas, like, for instance, abolition of prostitution or abolition of surrogacy, from this very point of view, as I said, what would success look like? And just a little note that, in my opinion, success is a word that sometimes can be used with modifiers because it can have different levels of fulfillment. I'm saying this because I think we have already experienced some success as an organization that has an interest in influencing language. Sheila Jeffries pointed out some days ago at the launch of WDI book, Women's Rights, Gender Wrongs, that the expression sex-based rights was unheard of before the launch of the declaration. But now it's becoming increasingly popular. And in fact, it's becoming the mainstream expression in many countries for expressing the mindset from which people are able to oppose gender identity ideology. It would be better if we were rightfully acknowledged as the source of the expression, but even if people don't know where it comes from, it is a success to have placed that concept in the ordinary language of the general population. As you all know, everyone here knows, the declaration is open for signatures from people from all over the world. But you must have noticed that collected signatures was not mentioned in the about description I read before. I myself hadn't noticed that before preparing for this panel, but I haven't asked the board of directors about it. But I think that's because the declaration was created not just as a manifesto for people to agree with, but as a legal antidote to the poisonous Yogyakarta principles that were being used by governments all over the world for creating legislation that erased women as a legal category based on the reality of sex. The declaration is a collection of principles already set on international human rights law, and therefore it's a reminder of the bare minimum content that any legislation impacting women's rights must comply with. From this reference point, success for us would be placing our Declaration of Women's Sex-Based Rights as the standard legal template in every country for modifying the current legislation that has already been passed based on the infamous Jakarta principles, or also the template for the creation of any new piece of legislation impacting women that might be drafted from now on. That is, success from this point of view would be the implementation of policies all over the world that would apply what is written in the articles of the Declaration. That the rights of women are based upon the category of sex, that the nature of motherhood is an exclusive female status, that women and girls have rights to physical and reproductive integrity, to freedom of opinion and expression, to freedom of peaceful assembly and association, which includes, of course, rights of women and of course, including lesbians, to meet in single-sex spaces, rights to political participation on the basis of sex, and to the same opportunities as men to participate actively in sports and physical education, and that there is a need for the elimination of violence against women and for the protection of the rights of the child. That said, it doesn't mean that gathering signatures is not important. It is important for many different reasons. One of the most important, in my opinion, being that in order to be a member of our organization, women have to sign it. That is, they have to publicly declare that they adhere to its principles. Everything we do must be aligned to it and cannot contradict it. That is extremely important to keep us on track and not deviate us from our path. But also, for non-members of the Declaration, it is very important because it helps people understand the key points of our fight while we spread the word about what's happening in many countries with the erasure of the female sex from legislation. What I mean is that we have to be very aware that the Declaration is a means to an end, not the end in itself. We don't want to be popular. We want to change legislation, and we want to change it in a very specific and concrete way. That is the end goal, and that must be the target to work for and the measure of our success. I will conclude by coming back to the about text referenced before, where there has also been a mention of building international sisterhood. About that, I think it's fair to say that we have been very successful. And this meeting itself attests that with women from different countries coming from 3 continents, as this panel also show you. We are already a true international network of women working together in pursuit of the same goal. Our reach is so wide, it goes from New Zealand to Canada or from Japan to Chile. So we can claim without bragging that we actually are a global organization. Another proof of this sisterhood is the already mentioned book, Women's Rights, Gender Wrongs, where not only there are 38 country reports, but also the book itself is a collective effort of over 100 women, as Sally Wainwright told us, which is really amazing. WGDR, I think it's the first of its kind, a true grassroots radical feminist organization with members, activists, and donors from all over the world. And that is creating and fostering channels of communication among us. We know who we are and how to find us, and that is a great success in itself. Things change when women meet to work collectively to advance our rights. We have just started. My bit was very, very simple because I consider myself an activist. So it's what do we do? We want to change legislation. We have to lobby for the change of the legislation, and we have that tool that is the Declaration. So the situation in Spain is bittersweet, as Vaishnavi was saying, because when people tell me that we're doing right because they see that we are fighting hard, I'm not happy with the results because we failed in the sense that we have the law passed. They cheated. They did all kind of tricks. So we would have had a better chance had they not been playing dirty in that sense. It wasn't a fair fight. But even that, it's not consolation. It's not. I mean, we lost that. But I don't think that we lost the war. That was a battle. We're still here, and there's a sisterhood that really is a sort of power bank. I was, as Vaishnavi and many people know that I was completely desperate when I met Sheila that day. I don't know whether she remembers. I felt that I was also on my own, that no one was doing those. No one was doing anything in my country. I knew that women in the UK, in the US, were doing other things, but no one was doing that. So it's this idea of belonging to a group, as Vaishnavi said, really also helped me a lot in terms of a moral, because when you're on your own, it's very difficult to address the situation, which is so huge. It's a sort of mythological monster, or it's this is the kind of story that the fairy tales are made of, the big monster that comes to eat children up. So this sisterhood is what really fits us. It prevents us from quitting when moral is low. So even if we are in a bad place, remembering that we are in this together, and the more we work, the more sister will come. It's also a good way of addressing it.